Hi folks, Jared here, another Sunday night update from All About Pips. Hope you all had a wonderful weekend. I surely did. Costa Rica is wonderful as always, but particularly on the weekends because the market's closed and I actually can leave my computer. It's amazing. But wonderful weekend and even a better Sunday night. We had a lot of good activity happening Sunday night tonight in the market. I definitely did trades, several trades before doing this video, and I swear I'm pooped now. So I'm going to give you guys the best I got. But we were going to have lots more to come this week. This Sunday night video is now just going to be mostly to talk a little bit about some of the pairs I'm going to be watching this week. And I'm not really going to try to predict any major trades or any major movements. We're just going to talk about what to look at, and then in the day-to-day chats, we will talk about some specific trade entries to take and what to do and what not to do and kind of all of that. So for all of you that were on the chat, congratulations for making some pips, and for those of you that missed out, I strongly recommend to be on next time. We all made some good trades this evening, and the Sunday night trade held up like a champ. Here is the euro dollar that we're looking at right now. There's a couple of exciting things happening with this euro. We have some interest rate announcements this week. We've got a few other things happening like that on the euro this week. But most of all, we have quite the situation here where we look at this daily trend. If you guys look at the post of just the last post before this Sunday night post, I have a picture of this euro dollar chart up where basically I'm just looking at this long trend that's been happening here, and the market keeps dipping and bouncing, dipping and bouncing, dipping and bouncing. And here was a dip and bounce right after non-farm payroll. The market shot down to the trend line there. We'll just zoom that in so you can see that better. The market shot right down to that trend line and bounced off it and came up, and that was a very nice little trade, good for some great pips. And I got in right on the bottom of this green candle and rode this thing all the way up. Great little trade from the bounce off of the long trend line. Now the question that we have here is this trend over? Is it going to keep running? Once again, as we zoom out, we see that this trend is now several months long on the day chart, starting all the way back in the very beginning of March, and here we are in the very beginning of October, so that's several months of uptrend. But until the market tells us otherwise, we're going to have to just stick with this trend and keep on keeping on, and this has given us a very nice recharge. The market's been going down for about a week and a half, and it's just bounced off the 4-hour gap, and here it is giving us a 4-hour crossover and looking like it's going to head its way back up there. We had just a nice little descending trend line here, kind of a big triangle that was happening, and the market's just broken out of that over the last several hours. So this is encouraging for a continuation of the uptrend. So that's basically what I'm going to be looking at on this euro dollar over the next while, is just continued upward movement. Now we go here to the pound dollar, and this is another kind of interesting one. It's been moving down pretty nicely. It broke some pretty key levels at that 1.60, the 1.6 thousand level, which it continues to just hover around and struggle with. So this was a nice little Sunday night trade, gave us a good little amount of pips right there as it broke the 59.50 area, and here it is at 59.94 and change. So it gave us a nice little run. It's just bumping right into the 1-hour gap here, so I'm looking to take this pair in the direction of the trend, but before that downtrend continues, if we see, we'll just zoom this in a little bit here, if we see this 4-hour crossover complete, then we will very likely see some nice upward movement, possibly to the 4-hour gap, possibly up to the weekly pivot right in that area, but definitely for some amount if this 4-hour crossover completes, which it looks like it's going to do. We see that this candle's just opening right here on top of the blue line, so I'll be watching this one very closely to see if it does continue up above that blue line. If so, more upward movement is very likely to happen there, and that should push this through the 1-hour gap by at least some amount, and we've got plenty of space before that 4-hour gap. So this is kind of the epitome of just letting this thing kind of run up here and look at some selling opportunities once it gets up there a little bit higher. The downtrend is strong, but as you see, it keeps running down and pulling back, running down and pulling back. And this is definitely a bit of a pullback right now. We see the stochastics are fairly oversold, or excuse me, overbought at this point, giving us a nice cross. Hopefully going to drag this pair down, but I will watch once again for this 4-hour crossover to complete, make its way up a little bit, at which time I'll be looking for some selling opportunities up here off of the first WR1 area to get back in on some sells. So that's kind of what I see happening on the pound dollar. This Aussie yen is a very interesting one. I made some good pips on this guy on Friday right after non-farm payroll. I jumped back in, or I jumped in for a buy right here and took this pair all the way up. It was a nice little 100 and change pip trade there. But we see that what it's doing is it's just very nicely routinely bouncing between this channel of about 76.30 up here to about the 8,000 or the 80.00 level. And it's been there for just about 2 months now. So I just got in a buy off the bounce. There's no recognizable trend on this Aussie yen. We see that the yen pairs are very kind of indecisive on some pairs and very decisive on other pairs. We see the dollar yen's trending down strongly, the pound yen's trending down strongly, and then we've got the Aussie yen and the euro yen that are very range bound, very sideways. And so basically the avenue that I'm taking for these guys here is just bouncing off the extremes, and one of these times I will have to get stopped out, but I'm just looking to bounce off these extremes here and take some pips, and that was a nice little 100 pip trade. And when it gets back up to that upper level, I'll do the same thing. As of right now, I'd definitely like to see a 4-hour crossover complete, and that will allow for further movement. This gave a nice little Sunday night run. Took a couple of pips on this guy here, broke those Friday highs, made a great little run, but nothing that I'm going to stay in long term. These are just easy little trades to get a couple of pips out of, but as it comes and reaches that upper extreme there at about the 80 level, I'll be looking to get back into that. Aussie dollar, same thing. We have this Aussie dollar has made a nice run up, and I'm just looking to do the same thing on this one as I'm doing on the euro. Just bounces off this trend line and continues up. Here it made a nice little bounce off the trend line once again, and made a nice continuation upward. So I'm going to just keep doing what the charts are telling me, and they're saying that this pair is likely to continue upward. It is choppy, but it has bounced nicely off this gap. A 4-hour crossover will, when completed, will definitely signal a buy entry for me. So I just want to get it above this 13 moving average here, at which point I'll be getting in for a buy on this Aussie dollar. It's struggling a little bit, but it looks like it's continuing upward. There's some interesting articles on the Aussie dollar, so I'll have a look at that. But that's a good-looking strong pair there. And then we just have some yen pairs that are kind of moving around. Like I said, the euro yen's pretty trendless. The pound yen is hopping around quite a bit, but if you look at the big picture here, we see that it's been staying very nicely below that moving average on the day chart, and it's just given us a little bit of a bounce, a little bit of a retracement before likely continuing downward. And the dollar yen, same type of situation, just kind of bouncing off this and continuing down. So we're going to have to watch that. The big question that we're going to be faced with fairly recently or fairly shortly is, are we going to see pairs like the euro dollar and the Aussie dollar reverse? They are on very big uptrends. They've been in very big long uptrends. So when's this reversal going to happen? We have definitely a kind of a strong cluttered period here. On the Aussie dollar, it's definitely had a hard time with kind of this 8,800 area. So we've got 8,800 to really contend with on the Aussie dollar, and then the euro dollar, of course, we see that it's really kind of just hanging strong at this 4,800 level, 14800. So these are going to be some levels to really watch for, but I'm definitely looking to trade both of these pairs back up to their recent or their current highs. And so that's what I'm really looking for. Once again, we just have a couple of announcements to be looking at. Lots of interest rates on all the pairs except for the US dollar, so keep an eye on that. Should be an exciting week. I hope to see you guys all in the chat participating, and best of luck trading, and keep an eye on All About Pips. Have a good week, guys, and we'll see you all in the chat coming up soon. Thanks.